no, I'll go ahead
I've
and show.
I,
I'll show my face.
I've had a few interviews in the past month where they're like, can we just keep the camera off? Is that all right? So
Yeah.
sure.
No, I'm
Hey,
okay.
it's great to talk to you. I don't know that I mean, I talked to you a lot up until like all things new. And then
Yep.
I got called away and started doing other things. And then we haven't really connected since then. But
Wow. Has it been that
always
long?
a
It's been
long
that long.
time. Yeah.
Golly. Well, as soon as I saw your name, I was like, wait a minute, I know Dwayne Hemby. But
Yeah.
I didn't realize it had been that long. Gosh.
Yeah. I've probably seen you, seen you backstage and some concerts and stuff. But as far as sitting down, interview, uh
Right. Right.
it's been a long time. A lot of years have passed, but
Yes,
here
sir.
we are. Yeah,
Here we are, back
we're
at it
still here.
again.
That's
Great.
right. And I'm just a long time listener, of course. I was the other day I saw on Facebook somebody posted one of those Sparrow uh sampler cassettes back in the day, where it
Wow.
was you and Tim Miner and BB and CC were on the same tape or whatever. They're, like
Yeah,
this.
and Margaret Becker. It was the
Yeah,
four of
yeah.
us. Yeah,
And I
that's
was
right.
like, I think that's probably the first time I heard Stephen Curtis Chapman.
Yeah,
And
that was
what a cool thing that we're still doing it so many years
it.
later.
It is. It's pretty amazing, isn't it? It's and you said the magic word, still. That's what to me is so amazing. It's 35 years ago
Right.
that record came out. That sampler and that whole thing, and just to think that I've had the opportunity all these years to do this, and still getting a chance to make music and encourage people and tell my stories and sing my songs is pretty amazing. Really is.
Yeah. Is that what you mean by still on the record? It's not like besides still waters or something like that.
Right. No,
Yeah.
it's and I thought about that because I know Michael actually he did a little project. I think it was just kind of something he did on his own called Still, and it was really based around Psalms, Be Still and Know, and all of that. And yeah, this one is the still of the fact that there's after all of this time, still finding God's, promises to be the anchor that holds us down, and still wanting to sing about it. And, obviously a lot has changed. Life has changed for all of us in so many ways, but to have that desire to still, encourage people and make music and do it, it is pretty amazing. And to still have the opportunity to do it, to still have
Right.
people listening is amazing.
Yeah. You think of it in terms of was it the first album was Firsthand?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So that probably came out on LP, I would guess, and
Yeah.
cassette.
And cassette. That was it.
Yeah. And so now we're back to LPs.
I know.
Uh,
Yeah.
no
And
cassettes, but we
and
had
some are doing cassettes even, but I'm like, oh, that's a terrible idea. Yeah,
yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah, I still have a bunch of my cassettes, but I don't have anywhere to play them, so I don't have
I
anything
know
to
that's
play
the
them on.
thing. Yeah, nothing to play them on.
So I've heard three of the songs.
Okay.
I've heard I'm Alive. I think the three that have been released to iTunes so far.
Right.
And
Still, Don't Lose Heart, and I'm Alive. Yeah.
yeah, and they're just upbeats. They're the Stephen Curtis Chapman great adventure type, diving in type. And so yeah, if you want to talk a little bit about that and maybe some of the other
Yeah.
records songs on the record.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I heard one of the most encouraging things recently from a guy who actually is in the music business, who heard my whole record, all 17 songs, and he said, this is the record. And he meant record, because that's the people even make records anymore. They make EPs, they make
Right.
6 or
Yeah.
7 songs. but I'm old school in that way. I love to take people on a journey because what that's what music is for me. You can't just pick one chapter out of a book and go, hey, read chapter 14 and you basically get the story. It's like, no,
Right.
you gotta take the whole journey. And but he said, man, I was so excited as I listened to this record because this is a record. He said, I've been a fan from record one. I've loved your music. And he said, this is a record I hoped Stephen Curtis Chapman would make at this point in his career. Like I was hoping you would make this record. So when I was listening to it, I was like, yes, it felt like the kind of record that, I was hoping you would make. And so I knew what he meant by that. It was really encouraging because obviously at this point, that was one of the things about making this record that was really interesting is I've talked a lot about this, but I had to silence, just being totally candid, vulnerable, and really honest. I had to silence a lot of voices sort of within, not external as much as just my own insecurity, because at this point in my career, 35 years later, and a good example, I'll give you this example. Somewhere a few years ago, I remember reading somewhere, hearing that Billy Joel had announced sort of publicly that he wasn't going to write and record any more new music. And he'd still do concerts, he'd still sing his songs. And I thought, man, that's so sad. I wonder what happened, or what, something must have really, made him go, no more new music. And then as I've gone further into my career, it was several years ago, I thought, I get it. Because a guy like that has had incredible success. He set the benchmark in many ways for what, pop music could be. Great songs, great songwriting, great albums, and I've had people, even in recent years, when I would write and release a new song, share some new music, so many times people, and they mean it as a compliment, and I know that's what it is, but they'll say, hey, that was really good, but golly, there's never going to be another album like fill in the blank.
Yeah.
There's never going to be another song like fill in the blank. Man, the first time I heard Dive, the first time I heard The Great Adventure, gosh, More to This Life, now that was your best album ever. And you hear that, and it's meant to be, and it really is a blessing and a compliment, the fact that as an artist, you have albums that people say are the best album of all of yours. I mean, that is a gift.
Right.
But the insecure artist in you, that everything you write, everything you pour your heart and soul into is the most important thing you feel like you've ever done. You have to hear that and go, okay, so I know they don't mean it, but what it feels like is, so really, I didn't need you to write that newest song. I really didn't need that. I just need you to sing those songs that I love, that, play those songs
Right.
that, and so all of that stuff starts going in, getting in your head, and you start thinking, well, I don't even know if I should bother people with new music. I mean, there's great artists making new music who don't have a 35-year career, and would they rather listen to those artists? You get all that stuff going. And honestly, it was interesting because I've not been a long-term Bruce Springsteen fan. I've always respected his writing, obviously, who couldn't as a writer. And I know the hits, but in the last few years, he has made two records that I think are two of the best records, just creatively, as a poet, as a songwriter, musically, I loved them. They really inspired me. One's called Western Stars, one's called Letter to You. And here's a guy who's 70 plus years old, who's writing, I think, some of the best music maybe he's ever written. And he's doing it from the perspective of where he is in life now.
Right.
And I thought, man, that's powerful to me. And I started to realize, and really a lot of it, for me at an even deeper level, this faith level of all that we've experienced these last few years in the world, which obviously touch very closely for me personally, and all that we've experienced as a family in the last 14 years of our loss of our daughter in the last few years. Lost my dear friend who played keyboards with me for many years, Brian Green, 60 years old. I'm just a little older than me. My brother-in-law, Mary Beth's sister's husband, 5 months, he was diagnosed with cancerous brain tumors, and he passed away. And I walked with him. We walked together through him, praying, believing God could heal him, but also knowing God might not. And all while this pandemic's going on. So, I mean, these things, these epic, earth-shattering things happening all around me and within me. And how do I process it? I write songs about it, you know. So I finally silenced all those voices and really the song still sort of captures that, because I finally just said, you know what? I don't think I need to wrestle with the question of, does the world need another song or album from Stephen Curtis Chapman? I think the fact is, I need to write these songs. I need to sing these songs. I need to make the best record that I can that really reflects what's going on in my heart. And then, you know, who knows from there? It's like, it's hopefully, you know, my friends will be encouraged by it, want to hear it, listen to it. But that's the side that's beside the point. The point is, I need to steward these things, these stories, and these songs, and these melodies, and these words that I feel like God has stirred in me. Because the truth is, just like my first record, Firsthand, all I wanted to do then was just tell my stories, have the conversations that I can have with people through music, and encourage them. And hopefully, maybe somewhere along the way, they go, man, I feel a little less alone. I feel a little less crazy. I feel a little more like, you know, somebody
Right.
just came along and said, oh, that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm, thank you for putting
Right.
that to music. And that's why I started doing this. That's still, there's the word, why I want to do it now. I still believe through all the life that I've lived, and the life and the death, that God is good and that God is faithful.
Yeah.
There's a lot I don't know about, you know, who God is. There's a lot, you know, that life is, you know, has kind of shown me things I don't know, but I still believe and I still want to sing about it. And so that was really the idea of this song Still, which then became, well, that's the obvious for me title of the record, because it's the I still want to sing about it. I still have a reason to sing. And it seems like still there are still people that want to listen to it and hear it. So that's good.
Right.
So
Right.
that's really a lot of the overarching, you know, kind of idea behind the record. One of the things I wanted to do was to use some new people in making the record, because I'm still a student. I'm still learning. I still want to grow. I still want to push myself creatively. So I used a guy who's been my wingman really for the last 9 years making music in the studio, Brent Milligan, who's brilliant. But I was also able to bring in two guys from my favorite rock band in the world, Colony House, which happened to be two guys that I've fed for a lot of years, because they're my sons. And so I
Yeah.
called them up and said, look, I know you guys are really busy and you're really cool rock stars and all that now, but you remember all those meals I fed you over the years? I need you to pay up and come help me make my new record. So we wrote some songs together. Even they helped me write some songs, and then they helped me produce a lot of the songs on this record, and worked with a couple of brilliant young guys, Micah Kuiper and Brian Fowler, who are not only brilliant producers and writers, but just have a great heart and had great respect for me. It was really, really sweet, because they came in as like, look, all we want to do is serve the songs that God's put in you, because we grew up, you know, being shaped in a lot of ways by the music you made. You know, they were like super honored and excited just to get to work with me, which was very cool for me. And yet they really, you know, helped me make some new music, and it felt new and it felt fresh, while still feeling like, you know, they would even say it. They're like, man, you know, they'd start smiling. It's like, you start singing, it's like, that guy sounds just like Stephen Curtis Chapman, you know. And then they go, because it is Stephen, you know. So it was kind of fun. So very cool time.
Right. Right. One of the things, as you were talking about, because I have been one of those people who've come to you and said, man, you just put into words what my heart is feeling right now, you know. And
Mm,
through the years,
yeah,
I think people who connect to your music, that's it. But it's not, I think, uh, even when they say, well, this song is special or whatever, it's not always the music. They have memories that are attached to that.
right,
Now,
exactly, yeah,
and we don't recognize the time we're living in right now. You know, like
yeah,
one of my old bosses used to say, these are the good old days. You know, they don't
yeah,
we
yeah,
don't think about it, but these are the good old days. So, you know, in a few years, they'll be
yeah.
like,
You're
this
right.
connected with me. So I don't know
Yeah,
if that
that's true.
makes you feel any better or not, but you know, once a little time passes, these songs will speak in a different way than the other
True.
ones did, and still
Yeah.
kind of feed into that.
Yeah.
I was
Totally.
I as you were talking, I was thinking about one time you're on Way FM and you were a guest in the studio, and I called in because I was so excited and so nervous. I was like, "Oh man, Stephen Curtis Chapman," that my friends were listening in the other room. I was so nervous. They said I didn't give you a chance to talk. That the whole time
You
I
just
was
did all
just
the talk.
I was just going on, and they said they could hear him. They could hear Stephen Curtis Chapman going, "What? Yeah, like you were trying to jump in." So when you're
I love
talking,
it.
I was just thinking about that. I was thinking, yeah, I don't want to be accused of doing that again. So
Yeah. You're doing really good.
I'm trying to be a better listener these days.
Yes.
What are some of the other songs, and what is God, downloading or pouring into your spirit? Basically, I know it's you're talking about encouragement, you're talking about
Yeah.
determination.
Mm,
What are maybe some of the
yeah.
other themes that you're kind of addressing on the record?
Well, I think well the one of the songs, that's the current radio single is a song called Don't Lose Heart. And I feel like one of the real reasons for that song um, is just we have been in such a season of loss. It feels like if there's one word, that represents sort of these last several years, it's been loss of relationship, intimacy, quarantine, separate, isolate, loss of income, jobs, security, normalcy. Like what's normal? People are walking around with, masks, and are we always is this the new
Right.
world that we're gonna live in? I mean, just so much that we have lost, and then ultimately loss of life and relationships and friends and family. And so in all of that, all of those, are different ways that ultimately cause us to lose our heart, just to lose hope and to lose heart. And I've thought a lot about that, and what are the things that keep us in the midst of all of this loss to not lose the most important thing, to lose our hope and to lose our heart. And thinking about the words of Jesus, and John, when he starts washes his disciples' feet, and they know something's coming, and he starts to explain, hey, this is going to get really bad before it gets good, and starts to, kind of prepare them for what's going to happen. But then he also explains, hey, you're not going to be alone. The Holy Spirit, I'm going to give this helper, and this my spirit will be with you even when I'm not here physically. He says, your Father loves you. He's going to listen to you when you pray. I mean, he's really beginning to just explain to them, all the reasons why they will be able to have hope for what's to come. And then finally, he says, and that great verse when he just says, here's the truth: in this world you are going to have trouble. And obviously we have experienced that, and all of us in our journey, in devastating ways, in different ways. But then he says, here's how you keep from losing heart. He says, take heart, don't lose heart, because you got to remember, I have already, in going to the cross and coming here to earth, and then going to the cross, going to the grave, coming out of the grave, I have overcome all that the troubled world is going to throw at you, all that this trouble that you're going to experience and see. There's another side to it. There's the other side to it. I've overcome it. And that's what you got to anchor your heart to. You got to keep remembering it so you won't lose heart. That's how you keep heart, keep courage. And so it's just felt like I need that. I need to hear that. I need to remind myself of that. Some of the lyrics even that say, take my hand, I'll show you all the scars from where I've been. This world, there's trouble, there's hurt, there's loss, there's scars. But in doing so, I'm going to remind you how we both know this story ends, and I'll need you to do that for me. I need you. We're in a relationship. So that song is, just an anthem for me. And I wanted to offer it to others to just say, like never before, just may we not lose heart. May we, keep heart in this, and anchor our hearts to the hope that we have in Jesus. because this is still his world. This is our Father's world. It's a crazy world, crazy things going on, even within the faith, even within the church, and so many
Right.
people, deconstructing their faith, and what do I keep? What is real? Was, so in all of that, that's been one of the cries of my heart is don't lose heart. Remember all that Jesus told us and promised us. And so that was one of the themes really throughout, even the song I'm Alive, which is the other one that I've released, that just says, I've been, wrestling with, I'm trying to fix it, I'm trying to figure it out, I'm just trying so hard. And then, I kind of feel like, coming to this place to just go, you know what? The truth is just the fact that I'm breathing right now, that I'm drawing breath. God has put us here. He is in all of these moments, the good ones, the bad ones. And I think there's a big part of that. He just wants me to remember, wait a minute, you're alive, you're here. There's a reason for that. And I'm if you'll trust me in it, I'm gonna do, great things, and you'll see it. The story's not over yet. Um,
Right.
and then throughout the record, really a lot of the songs were just as I process things going on in the world. There's a song I wrote about my best friend when I was in 7th grade, who we played together in marching band. We actually went to the Disney parade and got to play in junior high in the Disney World parade. And we both played snare drums side by side, and he was black and his name was Carlton, and he was my best friend. And I never really even thought about the fact that we had different skin color. He was just my best friend. And I've thought about him a lot, and thought, especially when things started to get just racial, so much, the tension and all. And I was just really praying, even wrestling, God, how do I process this? How do I, have an open heart to really learn and grow in this time in my sensitivity and understanding. And this song came from that song that I wrote, a couple of them actually written out of the just walking through the journey of my wife losing her brother-in-law, and Barry, and just things that marked his life, the kindness of his life, and that desire to say, in this time, like we've never needed it before, it's going to be kindness more than any other thing that's going to reflect to the world the love of Jesus in our lives. It's going to be through the way of kindness, not through yelling and screaming and, beating people up with, with our truth, but it's going to be, the way of kindness. So just a lot of things that, again, all sort of came from what I was observing and experiencing and living in these last few years.
Well, just you're talking about your wife, and I just was curious. I don't want to go overtime either because I know you probably have supper
Yeah.
happening soon. Uh, but are you an empty nester now?
We are, yes. We have
Yeah.
our youngest, Stevie Joy, of course. Our youngest, Maria, is with Jesus now, 14 years. And then Stevie Joy, our next to youngest, is in her 2nd year in college. She is a cheerleader, a co-ed cheerleader at the University of Alabama. So turns out they have a football team there. And so our fall is quite exciting and fun and busy, with making pretty regular trips to Tuscaloosa, Alabama on the weekends, and even a few away games to go watch her do her thing and cheer. She's one of those that they throw way up in the air and, flips around and does all these crazy things. So, so we are empty nesters now.
Well, the only other congratulations, but I know it's probably a huge adjustment because you've had such a
Yeah,
big
it is.
family over the
Yeah.
years. When I first met you, I met you with your boys, and they were just
Little guys. Yeah.
little guys. Yeah. So I know that's an adjustment. What does Stephen Curtis Chapman do when he's not singing or recording? What do you do at home? What's your hobbies?
Well, it's usually hanging out right now with our grandkids, or trying to get my boys over here and, hanging out with them. But I have one grandson, Noble, and then 5 granddaughters. So Noble and I, in fact, the other day I dug out of my closet. I hadn't had it out in years, and I remembered that I have a metal detector, like a treasure finder, and we got it out and started looking around the yard for we found an old Pepsi can all smushed up, and you'd have thought we found $1 million. Like, we found something. So, but whatever, whatever they want to do, hanging out, being with them, being with my family. Now, currently, going to football games and other, basketball games as well, making trips to Tuscaloosa. That's become a lot of our life at this point. And yeah, so, just being with my family as much as I can. That's kind of where, all of our time ends up being if I'm not making music, which, when music is your love, your passion, and happens to be your work as well, that's a hobby, as for so many people.
Right.
And I still love it that much that even if I wasn't doing it, for a job, I would still, that would be my hobby. So yeah, I love it.
And you're in movies too. You're in my favorite movie
Oh
of
yeah.
last year. My
Yeah,
favorite movie. Everybody's like, I was just so crazy about a week away. I just thought it was the best thing ever.
I
And
totally agree. It was a great, great movie. I was blown
yes.
away. I was blown away, except for the lifeguard. He was a little weak, but other than that, it was great.
Well, there's a meme, a social meme where Leonardo DiCaprio is pointing at the TV. He's watching TV, and they always say that's something that was me watching that movie. Stephen Curtis Chapman, there he is, right there.
Watch, quick, here he comes. There he goes, right there.
There he is. There he is. I didn't see a dance breakdown or something with you, so
No,
I guess they cut your dance solo out
they
of it.
edited that out. They did. That was on the editing room floor.
That was a great movie. I grew up. Grease was my favorite movie. I love going to youth camp. I love Christian music. I was like, they made a movie just for me to just combine everything I
That's right.
like
Just
and put it in
everything
one.
I like
Yeah,
in one movie. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. I'm hoping they make a sequel. I keep begging. I'm crossing
I
my
know.
fingers.
I know.
Yeah.
I think so. I think so.
And I loved how they breathed life. They modernized your songs too. Just kind of bring it back for
Yeah.
new generation. I have a 9-year
Yeah.
old girl, and she's going around singing The Great Adventure. I was like, that's
I
awesome.
know. It's like, how cool is that? I know. I
Yeah,
love that too. I thought that was, my granddaughters like to sing Dive and The Great Adventure all the time. And they love it. And it's
yeah,
from watching that movie. Yeah.
yeah. Well, thank you so much. It's such a privilege to talk to you after, just keeping up with you through the years, and you've always been kind and always been a good person to talk to, and I'm so glad we got to reconnect.
Me too, Dwayne. Great to talk to you, buddy. And have a great rest of your evening.
You too.
All right, bud. Bye-bye.
Bye.